Our, our paper, November 2020, for O-level mathematics paper 1. We are now on question 16. So you are required to express this fraction here. You are required to express this fraction here as a single fraction in its simplest form. So it's subtraction of fractions. So to subtract these fractions, it means you are going to multiply this numerator by this denominator. So we are going to have 2. Let's use a black pen. We are going to have 2, which is multiplied by the denominator here, which is 2 minus 5a. Then we take the sign as it is. We take that numerator there. It multiplies this denominator, which is a, all over. We multiply the denominators, which is a, 2 minus 5a. Then we have to simplify the brackets. Here we are going to have this one, when it multiplies this, is 4. This one, 2, when it multiplies this, it's gonna be minus 5a. Sorry, 2 times. So it's gonna be 10 minus 10a. Then we have minus 5a all over this. When it comes here, what's happening with my pen now? Okay. This. So when this is gonna be 2a, then this and this, it's gonna be minus 5a squared. This is going to give us 4. Then these are like terms. We are having minus 10a there, minus 5a. These are like terms. So we are going to get our answer as minus 15a all over. Here you can leave it as 2a, open bracket, 2a minus 5a squared, or the denominator can be left as in factorized form. So eventually our final answer here is 4 minus 15a divided by 2a minus 5a squared. And as I said, take note of the denominator, you can factor out the a, so you can leave the denominator as a, 2 minus 5a. Then we go to the next question. They are saying, given that a is equal to 1, b is equal to 0, c is equal to minus 2, evaluate that. So where there is b, it means you are putting 0 minus. Where there is c, you put minus 2 all over 3. Where there is a, we are going to put a 1. This will be equal to minus 0 minus minus 2. It becomes 0 plus 2. So it becomes 2 over 3 times 1. It's going to be 3. So eventually our final answer is 2 over 3. Then we go to the next question. We are on question 17. Here you are given that 3 towns X, Y, Z are on level ground such that Y is 8 kilometers to the east of X. So In other words, you are supposed to be knowing your compass. So we are having this as our compass. This one is our north. This one our south. This one becomes our east. This one becomes our west. So you are told that y is 8 kilometers to the east of x. So it will mean that we are having here, we are having our x, and we are told y is 8 kilometers to the east of x. So here it means that's where we are having our y. Then we are told that z is due. We are told that z is due south of y. Z is due south of y. So it means here we can have our z there. Then we are actually given that here is 8 kilometers. And since this is east, this is south, they meet perpendicularly. So it means here it's right angle. Then we are told that Z is on a bearing of 60 degrees east of south. So, and 10 kilometers from X. So at X here, let's put our compass at X. So it means here at X there, we are having our north, this side our east, this side is our south, this side here is our west, this is our east. Then we are told 60 degrees, but we are told east, we are measuring from the south pole, because from this always you have to know bearing, always we measure from the northern pole. So to get to the south it's 180. Then we are saying it's 60 degrees east from the southern pole, meaning to say here the angle that is made here, you are told that 60 degrees to the east, but we are measuring from the south. So here it's 60 degrees, but initially we have to be knowing that here there is 90 degrees. So based on that, we can now answer the questions that follow. So the first question, it's saying, find the three-fig bearing of Z from X. This is our Z. So the bearing that is required there, if we are to mark the required bearing, let me mark it in blue. They are saying the bearing of Z from X. As we said, we always measure from the northern pole in a clockwise direction. So this is the required angle, which is required. And we established that here it's 60 degrees. So it means we can determine the size of this angle here, because here it's 90 degrees. So here it means it's gonna be 30 degrees. And we know that here there's been 90 degrees. So the bearing of Z from X is gonna be this 90 plus this 30. So that bearing is going to be 90 degrees plus 30 degrees, which is going to give us 120 degrees. Then the next question is saying the compass bearing of X from Z. The compass bearing of X, this is our X from this Z. So if we are to check, we are going to have our compass there at Z. So this is the north, this is the south, then this is the east. In relation to Z, this is the west. Always compass bearing. Remember, it's measured per each 90 degrees. So this one, we are going to measure it this way. So if we are to check, this line and this line are parallel, meaning to say we end up having these angles being equal, meaning to say this angle will be equal to this angle. Why? Because these northern poles that we drew, eh, I don't have network and because these are parallel. So this angle and this angle, they are alternating angles. So it means here we are going to have 60 degrees here. But the question wants the compass bearing. So we are measuring from the north there. If you check, it's north from the northern pole. How many degrees? 60 degrees. Going towards which direction? We are going towards the west. And take note, the question wanted compass bearing, but if it wanted the 3 feet bearing, it means we're going to take this part, which was going to be 360 minus this 60 degrees, which was going to be 300 degrees. So in this case, they were wanting the compass bearing. So it means here our answer is this one. So here we are saying, here we are having 120 degrees. Then the next one, take note, we have to highlight, we are told the distance between Z and X is 10 kilometers. It was supposed to be highlighted there on the diagram. 10 kilometers. Then let's go to the next question. So it means here we agreed is, then the next question is saying calculate the distance that Z is south of Y. The distance that Z is south of Y. So to calculate that distance, we go to our diagram. Calculate Z. In other words, they are saying calculate the distance. In other words, that question, they are just saying calculate the distance YZ. So one way, it means we are going to just, since we are dealing with the right angle, the triangle here, and this side is the hypotenuse, it's opposite the right angle, we know that using Pythagoras theorem, the longest side, which is the hypotenuse squared, must be equal to the sum of the two sides, each squared. That is applying Pythagoras theorem. We applied Pythagoras theorem. Why? We applied Pythagoras theorem. Why? Because we are dealing with the right angle, the triangle XYZ. So applying Pythagoras theorem, it will mean that 10 squared will be equal to 8 squared plus the YZ squared. To make YZ squared subject of the formula, it means we're going to simplify. This was going to be 100 minus 80 squared is giving us 64, must be equal to YZ squared That is here we transposed that one. So we are left with 36 equal to yz squared. Its distance, we just find the square root both sides. So it means the yz there is equal to 6 kilometers. That was one way of dealing with it. Alternatively, it was possible that we can use trig ratios. Trig ratios. So alternatively, that was the other alternative. So it means it was possible that we can use trig ratios. Sine is equal to opposite over hypotenuse. Cosine of an angle is equal to adjacent over hypotenuse. Then tangent of an angle is equal to opposite over adjacent. So using any of these, you are going to get an answer. So it means if you decided to use our reference angle as this one, so in relation to this one, we know this side is the opposite. So which ratios are using opposite? It means it's as possible that we use sine. So if we were to use 30, we're going to use sine 30 degrees is equal to opposite. What's the opposite? It's yz divided by the hypotenuse. Our hypotenuse is 10. So it was going to be saying divided by 10 there. So it means for someone who used the sine theta, your answer you were going to get yz equal to sine theta. And take note why it was possible for us to use trig ratios. It's because we are dealing with the special angles. But if these angles that we are given here, they were not these 30 degrees, 60 degrees, or 45 degrees, we were not able to use this sine, these trig ratios, because it will need us to go to the calculator or the mathematical table. But remember, we are dealing with paper one where calculator is not allowed. We are not allowed to use the calculator. So sine 30 is equal to opposite. Opposite of 30 is this one, divided by the hypotenuse. Hypotenuse is 10 there. So when you simplify, your yz will be equal to 10. That is times sine 30. Sine 30 is half. So eventually, if you used this method, the yz was going to be equal to 5 kilometers. Because sine 30 is half. You have to know this. Sine 30, these are special ratios. Sine 30, you are supposed to know that by heart. For 30, so sine 30, you have to know that that one is half. You are supposed to always know that by heart. You are not supposed to be using the calculator because the question said you don't use the calculator. Then we go to number. Because you said if you use 30, it was going to be using opposite. This side is opposite. The other ratio which chooses opposite is tan. So it means we're going to talk of tan 30. We're going to be talking of tan 30. So it means that was going to be tan 30 degrees equal to opposite, which is yz, divided by the adjacent. Our adjacent in this case is this side, which is also making that angle 30, which is not the hypotenuse, which is 8. So it will mean that our y is making, so it will mean that you were able to get your yz to be equal to, remember 30 is a special angle, you are supposed to be knowing tan 30 by heart, though you can do the calculations. So the tan 30 is giving us root 3 over 3. Tan 30 is root 3 over 3. So it means it was going to be 8 multiplied by root 3 over 3, or 1 over root 3. How do we get that? From the special triangles. So if you check your yz, if you used this method, it means your yz was gonna be equal to 8 over root 3 kilometers, which can be simplified. Remember, we are not using calculator, so it means your answer was supposed to be instead. So it's either you're going to leave it like this, or you leave it in rationalized form. After multiplying both the numerator and the denominator by root 3, it was going to be equal to 8 root 3 divided by 3 kilometers. Alternatively, you would use 60 degrees as your reference angle. It was possible that you use 60 degrees as your reference angle. So if we use 60 degrees, this side, it means it's the adjacent. Which ratios are using adjacent? It means we are talking of ratio. Which ones are using adjacent? It means we are talking of. So always take note that we said is a special. You have to always know that tan 30 degrees is equal to 1 over root 3. So if we use 60 degrees as our reference angle, which ratios uses this side? If we check in relation to 60 degrees, this side is adjacent. Which ratios uses adjacent? Is cos and tan. So it means we were going to use it as, so we say there or, so we're going to use, if we use cosine, so it was going to be cos 60. So cos 60 degrees is equal to adjacent, the adjacent is yz, over the hypotenuse. The hypotenuse is 10. So it means cos 60 was going to be equal to cos 60. This was going to be equal to half that one. So it means your yz was going to be equal to 10 multiplied by half. So yz, meaning to say it was going to be equal to 5 kilometers. Still, it was possible. Another one which is using adjacent is tan there. So it means it was possible to say tan 60 degrees. Take note here. So we said this is 1, that we were, it was possible that we use 2, it was possible that we use 3, cos 60, which we said is equal to 1 over 2. And these ones, remember, they are special angles, which are supposed to know them. If we use 60 there, it was going to be equal to, so it means we are going to say tan 60 degrees is equal to opposite of 60. It's what? Opposite of 60, we are seeing it's 8. So it was going to be equal to 8 over the adjacent. The adjacent is yz. Then this one is the same as over 1. When we cross multiply, because we want to make yz subject of the formula, it means our yz was gonna be equal to 8 divided by tan 60 degrees. Then check from your special triangles, what's your tan 60 degrees? You'd realize that the tan 60 is gonna be root 3. So it was also possible that here we would use tan 60 degrees. So it's gonna be equal to, that is number 4, tan 60 degrees, which is equal to root 3. So it means this was gonna give us as our yz is equal to 8 over root 3 kilometers, which you say we obtained it here and we said we can rationalize. So for a right angled triangle, we said it was possible that you just use Pythagoras theorem, you use SOHCAHTOA, but remember, for all those other formulas that work for even a shape which is not a right angle, for other triangles, which is cosine rule and sine rule, it was possible that you can even use the sine rule here, since we are having special angles there. So let's check if we were to use the sine rule. If we were to use the sine rule here, it means if you check, remember we are still using our triangle. Our triangle is like this. This is the triangle that we are still using. Here we found 10. Here we found 8. X, Y, Z. Here we are having 60 degrees. Here we are having 30 degrees. Here is, so we are saying using an alternative, so which is maybe alternative 3, not trig ratios, it was possible that you can use the sine rule. If we were to use the sine rule, the side that we want is this one. So we know according to sine rule, it says that A over sine A is equal to B over sine B, which is equal to C over sine C. Meaning to say, in this context of our triangle, that is in triangle XYZ, it was gonna be X over sine X must be equal to Y over sine Y, which must be equal to Z over sine Z. So you'd realize that using the sine rule, the side that we want here is YZ. So it was gonna give us YZ over YZ over the opposite. So over sine 30 degrees is equal to, check the other angles that we know. So we can use this one, which is sine 60 degrees over, not sine, our side is on the numerator. So the side opposite 60 degrees is 8. So 8 over sine 60 degrees, implying that on the list of the angles that we were using, it was also possible. It's not 360, it's sine 60. Sine 60 degrees. So it means our YZ was gonna be equal to 8 times sine 30. Sine 30 is established there, it's a half, divided by sine 60 degrees. Again, 60 degrees, since it's a special angle, it means we are able to get sine 60 degrees. We are supposed to know it by heart, and sine 60 degrees can be written as root 3 over 2. That is after rationalizing. So here, another one that we're going to use on top of those. So we are saying we're supposed to know sine 60 degrees. Again, it's a special angle. This one is a ratio of a special angle, which is giving us root 3 over 2. So here is root 3 over 2. Remember? So here it means it's gonna be over root 3 over 2. So simplifying that, it's going to give yz being equal to 8 times half, it's 4, divided by this. So it's gonna be divided by, because over means divided by root 3 over 2, which is 4 multiplied by 2 over root 3. As you can see, we are also getting 8 over root 3. We are getting 8 over root 3, still using sine rule. It was gonna give us or it's now here. It's supposed to be number 3 alternative. So here we are saying or yz over sine 30 degrees is equal to, we are using that, so it's sine 90 degrees over the opposite side of 90 degrees is 10. And we have to know that this is going to give us yz. Can you please take note there? The side is on the numerator. So it's supposed to be equal to 10 over sine 90 degrees. Then it means the yz is equal to 10 times sine 30, but sine 30 is half, or over 1. So it means this is going to give us 5 kilometers. Take note here, kilometers. Lastly, it was still possible that you can use the cosine rule. Last option, it was possible that you can use the cosine rule. Cosine rule says what? Says a squared in triangle ABC. It says a squared equal to b squared plus c squared minus 2bc cos a. Then, meaning to say, in our triangle that we were having, in triangle XYZ, the side that we were looking for, if we are to check, is side X. So it was going to mean that our X squared is equal to Y squared plus Z, Y squared plus Z squared, these are sides, minus 2YZ minus 2, this one is Z, YZ cos X, where X is the angle between the sides that we are knowing. So it was going to mean that using this number 4, our side that we wanted to get is the side YZ. YZ squared was gonna be equal to the sides that we know. So we know 10 squared plus 8 squared minus 2 times 10 times 8 times cos. If you check on the diagram, the angle between the sides that we know, we are knowing this side, and this side. So the angle between the sides that we know is 30 degrees. So it was gonna be cos 30 degrees. cos 30 degrees. So simplifying that, we are going to have 100 plus 64 minus this one is 160 cos 30 degrees. If we go and check on cos 30 degrees, we already have those ratios. You are supposed to know them by heart. Or we never use the cos 30 degrees. So cos 30 degrees is root 3 over 2. Root 3 over 2. Yeah. It's root 3 over 2. If we simplify that, it means it's gonna be 100 plus, so it's gonna be 164 minus this is gonna be 80 multiplied by root 3. That's our y, z squared. Get root here, get root there. So it means that it was possible that you leave the yz as being the square root of 164 minus 80 root 3. So using this, it means we're having a lot of answers that were going to be acceptable there. So it will mean that there are a lot of answers that were gonna be acceptable there. So it means that distance, it was possible that we just accept 6 kilometers, as you saw how we calculated. So 1, it was possible, depending on the method that you used, 6 kilometers was acceptable. You see, we got that. You realized that also 5 kilometers was accepted, depending on the method that we used there. You'd realize that also 8 root 3 over 3 kilometers was accepted. You'd realize that this one, even if you write it as 8 over root 3 kilometers, was accepted. Lastly, if you use cosine rule, you realize that also this one was gonna be accepted, which is 164 minus 80 root 3 kilometers. It was also gonna be acceptable. Then the next question, you are given those matrices, matrix A and this matrix B. The first part is saying simplify A plus half B. So A, you just take it as it is. So it's gonna be 2 minus 1, 4, 3 plus half B is 0, 2 minus 4 minus 6. So it means the answer is gonna be 2 minus 1, 4, 3 plus this half, the scalar multiplies everything here. So here we get 0. Then here, half times 2, we get 1. Half times minus 4 minus 2, here we get minus 3. Then we simplify our answer. 2 plus 0 is 2. 4 plus minus 2 is 2. Then minus 1 plus 1 is 0. 3 plus minus 3 is 0. So our final answer gonna be given here is 2, 2, 0, 0. Then take note, we need our matrices. We need our B. So our B here Let's take our matrix B. They said B is equal to 0, minus 4, 2, minus 6. So in that instance, find the inverse of matrix B. So to get inverse, step number 1, you will need the determinant. So to get the determinant of B, this will be equal to this multiplied by this, which is 0 minus 0 times minus 6 is 0 minus this times this. So it's going to be minus 8. So the determinant is going to be equal to 8. So the inverse of B will be equal to 1 over the determinant, which is 1 over 8. Then we take the matrix. These two, they interchange their positions. So we are going to have minus 6 here. Then we have a 0 there. Then these two, they will change their signs. So here we are going to have minus 2 here. Here we will get a positive 4. This becomes our determinant, which is given as now given as our determinant. Our inverse is 1 over 8 minus 6 minus 2, 4, 0. Alternatively, it was possible that that inverse can be written in a form whereby it's already simplified, meaning to say you multiply. So if you bring this one, it means it was gonna be multiply this one by this. It was gonna be minus 3 over 8. This one multiplied by this. Minus 3 over 4. Then multiply this by this is minus 1 over 4. Then here it was gonna be a half. Here it was gonna be a 0. This 1 over 8 multiplies everything in the bracket. Then we go to the next question. So in the next question, this is what we are given. There is a table that is provided. The table below shows the number of children in a hospital by age. And if you check the first row, it's showing the ages. Then the second row is showing number of children. So the table, so use the table to find the modal age. So it says the modal age is the age which is having the greatest number of children. So the modal age is gonna be 5 years because it's the one which is having the greatest number of children. So the modal age is gonna be 5 years. Then the next question is saying number of children in the hospital. To get the number of children in the hospital, it simply means we are going to add all the children in the hospital. So it means we are going to say 1 times number of children. So it's gonna be 3 plus 4, 3 plus 4 plus 5 plus 6 plus 7 plus 6 plus 5 plus 4. So if we are to add this number 7, 12, 18, 25, 30, 40. So it means the total number of children in the hospital is 40. It means this is equal to 40. This is equal to 40. So it means it's having 40 children. Then the next one, we're saying calculate the mean age of the children. Calculate the mean age of the children. So to get the mean age of the children, we are going to say the total of their ages divided by the number of children. So let's go and calculate the total. So we go back to our table here. That is question 19B. Okay. So the part B, let me write it here. Here. The part B. So it's the total of their ages. So it's going to be 1 times 3 there, which is 3, plus 2 times 4 there, which is 8, plus 3 times 5, which gives us 15, 4 times 6, which gives us 24, 5 times 7, which gives us 35, 6 times 6, which gives us 36, 7 times 5, which gives us 35, then 4 times 8, which gives us 32. So we are going to add all this, then we divide by the total number of these children, which we realized is 40. So if we are to add this, let us just combine them in such a way you'd realize that if I'm to combine this 15 and this 35, I'm going to get a 50. So I'm going to get a 50 there. Then let me try to combine another numbers. If I'm to combine this 24 here and this 36 here, I'm going to get a 60. Then this 8 there, I'm just trying to do, and this 32, it's a 40. Then this one, 75, and this one's 78. So it's going to be plus 78 over 40. So our mean, this is how we calculate it. The total of their ages divided by the number of the children. So which is equal to this plus this 110 plus that is 188 divided by 40. Then 40 here, it enters how many times 1? 40 here, it enters how many times? We are realizing that it's entering 4 times. Or we can use long division. Let's use long division. In other words, we are saying 1. Yeah. We are having 40 there. Then we are having 188. So we are going to say 4. 4 times 40 is 160. Subtract, we are getting 28. Then we bring down a 0. So already we are going to put comma there. Then 40 enters how many times into 280? It's 7 times. 7 times 40, we are getting 280. We are getting a 0 here. So it means our final answer, our mean is equal to 4.7 years as our mean. So let's go and put that. So the mean which was asked is 4.7 years. Then we go on to the next question. They are saying solve the equation. We are required to solve the given equation there. So to solve the given equation, It means here we are going to have remove brackets, this multiply by this, we are going to get 2 times 3 is gonna give us a 6x, 2 times that minus 2 minus 10 is equal to 0. Then the 6x will be equal to this when they go the other side. It's going to give us a 12. Then dividing both sides by 6. It means our x is equal to 2 here. So here our x is equal to 2. That was a linear equation. Then we go the next equation. We are solving this one. So alternatively, 1. It means we are just going to say x minus 2 squared is equal to 1 over 4. Then we put a root sign both sides. The other side is gonna be plus or minus. So you are left with x minus 2 is equal to square root of that, which is half, or x minus 2 will be equal to negative 1 over 2. Then you transpose this, so it means the x will be equal to half plus 2, which is 2.5, or you leave it as 5 over 2. Then, or here we just transposed this one, putting it there, or our x here will be equal to, when you take the 2 to this side, we are going to have minus half plus 2 is gonna be 3 over 2, which reduces to 1.5. Take note, it's 1.5, not all. This one is a half, not 5 here. Yeah, 2. Take note how we simplified there. We said x is equal to half. When the 2 goes there, plus 2 over 1. Then this times this is 1 plus this times this is 4. Go over this times this, which is 2. So eventually the answer there is 5 over 2, which reduces to 2.5. The other side we got it as x equal to minus half. Then that one becomes plus 2. So this is 2 over 1. Just do the same this times this. So our x is equal to minus 1 plus this times this, which is 4, or over this by this, which is 2. This was going to minus 1 plus 3 plus 4, which gives us 3 over 2, which reduces to that. That is one way. Alternatively, so these are our solutions. Yeah. Alternatively, it was also possible that, or we expand the bracket there. So that one, it means we are having we expand the bracket. It means here we are having x minus 2 multiplied by x minus 2 equal to 1 over 4. Expanding this, we get x squared, this and this, minus 2x, this and this, minus 2x, then this and this is going to be plus 4 equal to 1 over 4. Then we are going to have x squared minus, when you combine the like terms, this part is going to be minus 4x. Then we have plus 4 equal to quarter multiplied throughout by 4. It means here we are going to have 4x squared minus 16x. We multiply here by 4, you multiply here by 4, you multiply here by 4, plus 16 equal to 1. When you take this one to this side, so we are having 4x squared minus 16x plus 15 is equal to 0. We now have our standard equation. From here, we can apply factorization. So if we were to apply factorization, our product is this and this. So it's going to be 60x squared, sum the middle term, so it's minus 16x. Then the factors, we want two numbers, we multiply them, we get 60. But when we subtract them, when we add them, we get minus 16. So we can talk of 60 and 1. We can talk of 30 and 2. We can talk of 15 and 4. We can talk of 6 and 10. All those numbers either being positive or both are negative. So if we check all these, if we are to add them, we are not getting minus 16. But if we take minus 6 and minus 10, if we multiply them, we get 60. But if we add them, we are getting minus 16. So it means these will make up our factors, meaning to say this equation can now be written as 4x squared minus 6x minus 10x plus 15 is equal to 0. Then we can factorize this by grouping. So this, our common factor is 2x. Then our x there, as we can see, we are left with the 2x in bracket minus 3. Then here our common factor is minus 5. Then we are left with 2x minus 3 being equal to 0. So we are left with the 2x minus 5, 2x minus 3 equal to 0. Equate each bracket to 0. 2x minus 5 equal to 0, or 2x minus 3 equal to 0. So the answers here, 2x equal to 5, x equal to 5 over 2, which converts to 2.5, or that one, 2x equal to 3, then dividing both sides by 2, the x is equal to 3 over 2, which converts to 1.5. You see, this was factorization, and if you are to check this answer, 2.5 here is the same as this 2.5 here. This answer 1.5 here is the same as 1.5 here. It was also possible that after reaching this step, you can use the quadratic formula. So we are saying, after removing the brackets, you are left with 4x squared minus 16x plus 15 is equal to 0. You have to go to the quadratic formula. X is equal to minus b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. But as you can see here, our a there, if you check from what we have, our a is 4, our b is negative 16, and our c is positive 15. So by doing that, it means you are going to have your x being equal to minus b. Our b is what? It's minus 16. Plus or minus the square root of minus 16 squared minus 4a, which is 4, c is 15 all over 2, a is 4. Simplifying that, we are having that 16 squared. You would realize that 16 squared, remember we are not allowed to use a calculator. 16 squared, it was going to give you 256. So simplifying this part under root sign, you would realize that that part under root sign is going to give you 256 minus this one is 120. Fifteen times 4 is 60. 60 times 4 is 220. Minus 220, meaning to say it's 36. So you'd realize that your x there was gonna be equal to this one minus minus becomes 16. Take note there. It becomes 16 plus or minus the square root of here is 36 all over 8. So we are having square root of 36. We know there is 6 there. So 6 plus 6, our answers of x, we were going to have 16 plus 6, which is 22. Okay, which is 22 over 8. Or the x is equal to, is this supposed to be 22? Or 10 over 8? Let's check properly. It's okay. Minus b, which is 16, plus or minus the square root of 16 times 16 is 256. 15 is 36 all over 2. Our a is 4. So using this formula, our answers are getting what? Slightly different. It's minus b. What is happening here? We have to check. Kindly take note that here, 15 times 4 is 60. 60 times 4 there is 240, not 220. It's 240. So that one was supposed to be 240 here. Then take note that here is supposed to be 16, not 36. It's supposed to be the square root of 16, and we know the square root of 16 is a 4. You put a 4 there. So you know that our answer is going to be 16 plus 4. 16 plus 4 there. It means this one is supposed to be 20 over 8, or 16 minus 4 is supposed to be a 12. It was an error. The other one is a 12 over 8. So eventually the answer, your x, is equal to 2.5 or 2.5 or 1.5, which are exactly the answers that we got earlier on. Those ones. So eventually you are supposed to write that here your x is equal to 2.5 or x is equal to 1.5, which you can write as decimals. So if we were to use decimals, it means x is equal to 2.5 or x is equal to 1.5. So you were supposed to use any method that you are comfortable with. Since they have not illustrated, they have not told you which method to use, they just said solve. But you have to pay attention to data. Sometimes they give you the specific method to use. Then we go to the next question, which is question 21. They are given a diagram. They are giving us a diagram. Then they say the speed time graph shows how an object travels at a constant speed of 40 meters per second in 6 seconds, which is this part. Then, so from there, it will mean that if you want the coordinates at this point there, it means those coordinates are 6, 40 there. Then, and then slows down uniformly, coming to rest after 2 seconds. Use the graph to calculate the meaning, to say the coordinates here. If you are to write as coordinate form, this can be written as 8, 0. And if you are to write coordinates here, it's like 0, 40. Then use the graph. So we are going to the next question. They are saying determine uniform deceleration of the object in the last 2 seconds. So if we are to check, we are going to concentrate on this last part, where so it only means we need the coordinates here and the coordinates there, and we highlighted the coordinates. We are having 6, 40. So we are having the coordinates at 6, 40, and we are also having the coordinates at 8, 0. So we have to know that deceleration or acceleration, we are just talking of change in y with respect to change in x. It simply means the same as gradient. So you can use the gradient formula. So if we are to use the gradient formula, it means we are going to say gradient is equal to 40 minus 0 over 6 minus 8. This is going to give you 40 over a negative 2, which is going to give you a negative 20. But it's a negative what? Our answer deceleration is going to be meters per second squared, because here we're talking of meters per second. So deceleration going to be meters per second squared. But take note, the moment we put negative, it means it's acceleration. But we have to take note that if they ask you it as deceleration, you do not have to include the negative, because sometimes they just say calculate acceleration. So acceleration, if let's say it was decelerating, you just have to know that we are talking of negative acceleration, meaning to say if they had asked us to calculate acceleration, our final answer, we must include the negative. But in this case, they said deceleration, meaning to say the negative is already implied in this word deceleration. So your final answer, it means deceleration is equal to 20 meters per second squared. Then the next question, it's saying, that is part B, distance traveled by the object. They want the distance traveled by the object. So the distance traveled, that is question 21B. Okay, let us 21B. They want the distance traveled. But how do you get the distance traveled? You have to know that to determine the distance traveled, you just have to calculate the area under the speed time graph. So to calculate the area, as we can see, this is a trapezium. So it means we are going to say the area under that is going to represent the distance traveled. So area of the trapezium we know is half A plus B times A plus B times H, where the A and the B are the sides that are parallel to each other. So if we are to check there, it means this will be equal to half. Then from this point to this point, these are 6. It took 6 seconds. So we are going to have 6 plus from here to here, there are 8 seconds there. Then multiplied by our height, which is from here to here, which is going to be 40. So the total distance traveled is going to be equal to this 14 multiplied by 20 when we divide this by 2. So it's gonna be 280 meters. Oh, we can divide this shape into 2. That is shape A and shape B. But if you check A, it's a rectangle. How do you calculate area of a rectangle? Area of rectangle, we know, is equal to length times width. So in this case, it's gonna be this 40 so it's gonna be 40 multiplied by the width. The width is 0 to 6 times 6. So here we are going to get 40 times 6 is 240. Then we are having shape B, which we put here. It's a triangle, a right-angled triangle. So area of triangle is equal to half times base times height, which is equal to half times the base from 6 to 8 is 2 times height. The height is 40, which is here. It's 40. Then this is going to give us 40. So the total area will be equal to 240 plus 40, which is equal to 280. So this total area is representing the distance covered, which is going to give us 280 meters. So the total distance covered is 280 meters. The working is shown, so it means here it's 280 meters sharp. So here is 280 meters. Then the last part is asking you average speed of the object during the 8 seconds. So you are asked the average speed. You have to know that we have distance, speed, time. So speed is equal to distance covered divided by time taken. So the distance covered, we found it to be 280 meters. Divide that by the time taken, it's 8 seconds. So If we simplify that, we can use 8 here, and as once 8 there, and as 3 times, leaving a remainder of 4. So it's gonna be 35 meters per second. Alternatively, for that, you can use long division. So we are saying 80 here, 280 here. 8 enters how many times here? 3. 3 times 8 is 24. We subtract. Then 28 minus 24 is 4. You bring down a 0. 8 enters how many times into 45? 5 times 8 is 40. The difference there is 0. So the average speed, therefore the average speed is determined here. You are given the average speed. So the average speed was 35 meters per second. Then we go to the next question. The next question there, it is, you are given this is what you are given. The universal set has the subsets A and B such that the universal set is 3, 6, 9, 12. As you can see, these are multiples of 3. Then here A is saying there are numbers less than 20. So we can list the elements of A. We can list the elements of A. It means the elements of A, numbers less than 20, but you have to know they must be accommodated in this mother set. So it's going to be 3, 6, 8, 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 18. Then B, these are factors of 30. So set B, factors of 30, we have to list them. It means it's 3, 6, then we have 15. Take note, the factors of 30 that are being listed, they are supposed to be part of the mother set. So 3, 6, 15, then 30. 10 years, it's a factor of 30, but it's not in the mother set. Similar to 1, similar to 5, they are not in the mother set. We have to only extract what's in the mother set. Then the mother set, if we are to list all the elements, if we are to list all the elements of the mother set, if we are to list all the elements of the mother set, that one is giving us 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 18, 21, 24, 27, then 30. Then the first question is saying list the elements of set A. We already listed the elements of set A. So the elements of set A, if you are to check from the mother set, these are just multiples of 3 from 3 to 30. Then numbers less than 30. We want multiples of 3 which are less than 30. So set A is listed here. You just extract that and come, what becomes your answer. So our set A is 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 18. Then the next question is saying find B complement. B complement, it simply means what is not in B. What is not number of elements in B complement. So in other words, we are just going to say that is only representing what is number of everything. Number of what's in the mother set. Number of what's in the mother set. Minus number of what's in B. So this will give us our mother set, we just go to our mother set. If you are to check mother set, we are having 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. What's in B? 1, 2, 3, 4. So it means that is going to be equal to 10 minus 4. This is going to be equal to 10 minus 4, which is equal to 6. Alternatively, because we know what's in B, it was possible that we just list, or you can just list the elements of B complement. That was the alternative method, or just list the elements of B complement. It simply means what's not in B. And remember what is required on your B. B, it says those are factors of 30. So we are just listing those ones which are not factors of 30. So it therefore means those which are not factors of 30. So we are going to have 9, 12, 18, 21, 24, 27. Then from those, you just have to count them. So number of B complement will be equal to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And it is very important to note that when you put number of elements, you are not going to put the curly brackets. If you put the curly brackets, it's now wrong. So our final answer here, it means number of elements in B complement must be equal to 6. We don't put curly brackets. And when we are listing elements in a set, always remember you put curly brackets. If you leave out the curly brackets, it therefore means again your answer is wrong. Then lastly, you are required to represent A, B, and the mother set on a clearly labeled Venn diagram. So it means we are going to put our mother set here. That's our mother set. Label it. Then we are going to have a set A and set B, which are intersecting. B. Then you check which elements are in both A and B. You just check from the given, because we listed the sets. If you check what is appearing in both sets, if you check both, we have 3 here, we have 3 here, we have 6 here, we have 6 here, we have 15 here, we have 15 here. So it means 3, 6, 15 are in both sets. So you just have to go and write those values in both sets. So we are going to put 3, 6, 15. Then if you check in B, we are only left with 30, which was not illustrated. Then in A, we're having 3, 6, 9. Also, we have 12. We also have 18. Then the remaining elements are supposed to be outside the subsets A and B, but inside the mother set. So we are having 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 18. So we are going to have 21. We are also going to have 24. We are also going to have 27. And it is very important to note that when presenting elements in a Venn diagram, we don't use semicolon to separate them. We just write those numbers. Then you are done. Make sure don't forget to label your diagrams. Thank you very much.